If someone had told me that I only needed 10 clients to build a six-figure practice, I'd have called them crazy. But that's exactly what happened. From working in an unsexy niche that most other therapists avoided, I developed a powerful program that earned me over €100,000 a year. And that single decision led me from that busy specialist practice to ultimately training over 3,000 practitioners in over 10 countries. So today I'm going to show you how to set yourself apart by harnessing the power of psychology. And to make it easy, I've called the 6 steps my psycho framework. Did you know that over 4.5 million blog posts are published every single day? Or that over 720,000 hours of video are uploaded to YouTube every day? And 95 million photos and videos flood Instagram every day? So in today's online world, being the same as everyone else means being invisible. It's essential to stand out in some way. And you can harness the power of psychological safety to do this, because human brains are wired to notice contrast and difference. Back in the day, this is our ability to distinguish a lion from a log. It kept us safe. Today, it's about filtering out unnecessary noise and distraction. But most therapists and coaches' websites, directory listings and socials sound the same as everyone else, using the same generic language, the same stock photos and messaging, and all offering the same mix of one-to-one and general coaching packages at around the same fee. And all that means is potential clients scroll past your posts, tune out your messaging, unsubscribe from your email list, and they never book that discovery or consultation call with you. When I was working as an eating disorders therapist, I never fully took on that reserved clinical style that people expected. I was kind of irreverent, I was very straight talking, and I was real. In fact, during a 7-day challenge I ran annually, I showed everyone my underwear. And people loved it. Now, as a trainer, our trainees regularly comment on how refreshing and entertaining my approach is compared to typical therapy training, which can take itself far too seriously. Now, to be clear, I know my stuff inside out, but I've just never seen the point of putting on that fake, sincere, earnest mask when I'm working, because life's too short for that, and I spend too much of my time working. So I allow my personality to come through with clients and practitioners, and that's a key part of what sets me apart. So before you even decide on your therapy or coaching niche, you can start by identifying and sharing what makes you unique. Your personal quirks, your style, and your personality are what can make you stand out. So use them intentionally. What you want to do is develop a professional personality. How do you want to show up in your work so people can really connect and resonate with you over every other therapist or coach out there? Now here's a simple exercise that can help you start crafting your professional personality. Write this down. As a health coach, nutritionist or therapist, people expect me to, but I actually, and fill in those blanks honestly. And I've given you several examples here to help you get started. Because here's the thing, everybody's got qualifications and certificates, and you know that clients rarely, if ever, ask about them. So they are not what sets us apart. It's your professional personality that resonates and sticks with people. So don't be afraid to be yourself, from your social posts to in your sessions with clients, because that's what people remember, not your credentials, but how you made them feel. Okay, so when you've started getting a feel for what your professional personality is going to be like, what's the next step in the psycho framework? It's the cocktail party effect. And that doesn't mean going out for margs or clients, unfortunately. Our brains are constantly filtering information, and they only pay attention to what's relevant to us. So when someone hears a message that feels specifically meant for them, they instantly perk up and pay attention. That's why a statement like, "I help women over 40 with binge eating and late diagnosed ADHD" grabs attention, while something generic like, "I help women navigate midlife with ease" fades into the background. So I know you've been at a crowded party or event with music, conversations and noise, and suddenly you've heard your name from across the room. Someone's talking about you. And instantly what happens? Your ears perk up. You filter out everything else and you tune directly into that single voice. This phenomenon, known as the cocktail party effect, was first described by British cognitive scientist Colin Cherry, great name, in 1953. He found that our brains are wired for selective attention, immediately noticing and engaging with messages that feel personally relevant to us and tuning everything else out. So the cocktail party effect applies directly to your marketing. When you speak specifically to a particular person's pain point, like saying clearly, I help women over 40 with ADHD stop emotional and binge eating, that ideal client instantly thinks, that's me. I'm over 40. I just got diagnosed with ADHD and I've been emotion eating all my life. Your message cuts through the noise and grabs their attention, making them far more likely to follow, engage with your content, look you up online, and ultimately book that call or consultation when she's confirmed for herself that you're the one for her. So, how do you come up with your specific attention-grabbing statement? First, think of the 5 best clients you've ever worked with. Write down all the issues they brought into the sessions: anxiety, stress, sleep, migraines, gut health, trauma, relationship issues, menopause, weight loss, emotional eating. Doesn't matter. Write everything down. Then, write down all the tools and methods used with each of these clients: worksheets, visualizations, frameworks, CBT tools, journaling, or any books and videos you recommended. Everything. Now, look at the 5 clients again. What do they have in common? Age range, gender, occupation, type of work that they do? Are they all parents? Identify the common threads. Now, use this prompt to develop your niche statement clearly and specifically. I help specific type of person who have specific problem or trait stop or reduce main pain point through your unique approach or method. And play around with this as much as you need to. Because when you clearly identify and speak to specific challenges for a specific type of person, you trigger the cocktail party effect. Your ideal client's ears perk up, your content leaps out at them from the overwhelming online noise, and you leverage the proven psychological power of selective attention. Okay, so now you've got your professional personality and you're beginning to hone in on a specific type of client or issue that you feel you can excel with. But how do you marry those two together in a way that works? It's about how you now identify yourself. Who the heck are you? Let's find out in the next step to becoming a psycho. Niching is like finally getting that name tag that matches the work you've kind of been doing all along. And without a clear niche, it can be hard for you to feel fully grounded and confident in what you do. Yes, you're qualified and competent, as we all are, but without a defined professional identity, it's harder to write content that stands out. It's difficult to talk clearly and confidently about your services, and it definitely impacts the fees that you charge. As long as you keep seeing yourself as a generalist who can help everyone, you don't even stand out in your own mind. So how can you feel comfortable charging more than other generalists? And another course is not the answer. Whereas when you clarify where you excel, something powerful happens internally. You confirm your professional identity for yourself. You're no longer just doing the work, you start to fully own it. Imagine finally wearing a name tag that says, "Hi, I'm the go-to person for emotional and binge eating, and I do it in my own unique way." And at that moment, your brain clicks and it says, "Oh, okay, this is who I am now." And that internal shift is crucial because clients will be drawn to professionals who feel authentic and confident. I never tried to portray myself as polished or perfect as a therapist. Instead, I deliberately chose to be real and relatable, but also relentlessly nerdy about the psychology behind emotional eating. And my clients could feel that authenticity. And when they sensed that, they thought, she gets it, she gets me. And that's when they booked. Just last week, I had a chat with somebody who joined our group program. She said, every single thing you say on your website is me. It was almost spooky when I was reading it. So if you're ready to make that internal shift for yourself, here's a simple exercise to help you start crafting your niche identity. Set a timer for 10 minutes and free write your honest answers to these questions. If I fully believed I was already an expert in my niche, how would I talk about my work differently? What would I immediately stop doing or saying? What would I give myself permission to do or do more of? And once you've finished writing, take a moment and reflect on what you wrote and ask yourself, what feels surprising or insightful about what I just wrote? What shifted? And what one thing could I do this week to communicate as if I already fully believed this. Now, this isn't about faking it till you make it. This is about aligning your external actions and behaviours with the professional identity you have internalized and are going to continue growing into. The more you act from this place of clarity and authenticity, the more natural it becomes. Because remember, confidence doesn't lead the way. Identity leads to confidence. And this is why you only need 10 clients. Because when you've worked with 10 specific types of clients with a specific issue, you will be clear on the common challenges and issues that come up for most others in that niche. And that's what's going to allow you to start crafting a unique program, a methodology, a workshop or group program for people in your niche. And start marketing better by talking about the biggest pain points you know your ideal clients regularly battle with. It's the cocktail party effect in action. Squirrel! Okay, so now we're really getting places. You have a defined internal identity that matches your professional personality. And as we say here in Ireland, now you're sucking diesel. But how does this translate into a sustainable practice and stable income for you? And the next step is the transformation bit, where we turn your niche into a runway, designing your own career path. Now, this is something that nobody thinks about when they decide to leave corporate land and retrain as a therapist or health coach, which is very common. I did it myself. But in private practice, there are no promotions. There's no in-house training and there's no clear ladder to climb. And this is a problem because you will get to a point where you feel stuck, no longer rewarded by the satisfaction of another happy client, and wondering what you can do next to move you forward in your business of one person. The biggest fear about niching is that it makes it even harder to progress. If you narrow your focus, you're losing opportunities for personal and professional development. And you might believe that staying broad keeps your options open, but actually it keeps you stuck as a jack of all trades, master of none, doing random certifications and trainings that don't actually move you forward or help you excel in any one area. But when you niche down, something powerful happens. You can go deep. You build your own method, your own signature system. You blend different models, tools, and specific aspects within your niche, and then you can leverage it in multiple exciting ways. When I first started, like all of us, I was a generalist. I saw clients for anxiety, grief, stress, trauma, and couples counselling, which isn't that random because my original training was actually as a couples counsellor. I offered sliding scale fees to fill my calendar, and surprise, surprise, everybody went for the lowest option. I was open to everyone who came through the door, and it actually just left me feeling scattered, never quite good enough for any particular client, and actually barely making ends meet in my practice. Now, I have been intrigued by disordered eating since college, and I'd done some advanced training, so I started attracting clients in this area. But this is before binge eating disorder was officially in the DSM, and emotional eating wasn't even a really recognised term yet, so it was primarily anorexia and bulimia clients that I was seeing. But the crunch came when I had 2 clients with bipolar disorder who came in at around the same time, and that was incredibly hard work. I was getting no support from their psychiatrists despite reaching out, and one client was in the middle of a going high episode, as it was called back then. So to give me some sense of control over what I was doing, I launched a group program for disordered eating and ran it in person for 2 hours on Wednesday evenings. And then in 2011, way ahead of the curve, and based on my experience of working with less than 20 clients, I had 8 in my group and I probably had 6 one-to-one clients. I created an online program for eating disorders that incorporated all the common elements I was seeing in those clients.
Hello, and welcome back to session 3 of this online self-help tutorial on family and how they affect us in the context of an eating disorder.
And I got backlash. Other therapists were really skeptical about trying to work with something as complex as eating disorders with an online program. A couple of people even suggested that it was unethical. And I was labelled a renegade, but like not in a cool, rebellious way, more like a what does she think she's doing kind of way. Now bear in mind, online was barely a thing 14 years ago. So what did I do? I spiralled. I lost confidence and I started building programs for anxiety and depression and trauma, none of which I ever loved or ever really finished. My focus was all over the place and my bank account was constantly on life support. And it wasn't until I finally said, you know what, I am choosing my way and I'm focusing only on adults struggling with emotion eating and binge eating. And that was when everything changed. Because I niched, I could finally go deep. Any continuing education I did was aligned with disordered eating, but it brought me into trauma, somatic and body work, energy work, menopause, ADHD. I'm still learning. I developed a clear methodology from figuring out what worked best for the most clients. And remember, 10 are enough to start seeing the patterns. Then you build from there, as I did. I created my signature program. I developed a one-day workshop which also brought one-to-one clients in. And I even developed my own therapy card deck and book, and ultimately developed and licensed a professional training that's now used by over 300 practitioners in over 10 countries. Niching doesn't limit you, it launches you. It gives your brain something vital, a sense of a clear direction and purpose. Your niche just becomes the foundation from which you grow, innovate and expand professionally in whatever direction that you choose. You don't have to go the way I did. I've repeatedly learned the lesson that we always overestimate what we can achieve in a short time and underestimate what we can achieve in a long time. If you told me back in 2009 when I was starting out that within 10 years I'd have a global network of practitioners trained in my own methodology, I'd have laughed you out of the room. So if you're ready to dream big just for a moment and create your own ideal career pathway, then grab your journal, set a timer for 10 minutes and free write on these questions. If I fully committed to the niche I'm drawn to for the next 3 to 5 years, what else could I create? Could I offer workshops or retreats? Could I launch a podcast or a YouTube channel? Could I develop a group coaching program or membership? Could I create a physical product like a workbook, a card deck, or a journal? Could I write a book? Could I get paid for speaking? Could I train other professionals in my method? Let your imagination go big. There are no limits. And just because you think it doesn't mean you have to do it, but just give yourself a moment to daydream as big as you can go, because it's really fun. This exercise turns your niche into a launch pad, not a limitation. It gives you clarity, focus, and a powerful sense of professional direction. Niching is not about boxing yourself in, it's about creating your own ladder and climbing as high as you want to go. Now, I can already hear some of you saying, well, that's all very well in a big niche like emotional eating, but my niche is far too small for that. That is not true, and I'm going to prove it with data in the next step of the Psycho framework, because size really does matter. Now, most practitioners make two really fundamental mistakes when they think about niching. One, they dramatically underestimate the size of their potential market or audience. They assume their niche is too small to sustain a practice. And that's because, two, they have an unrealistic idea of how many clients it takes to have a busy, profitable practice. So let's look at the real numbers. Say you want around 15 to 18 client sessions a week. That's about average. That translates to roughly 25 active clients at any given time when you have a mix of weekly and fortnightly clients, holidays, illness, etc. Now, if each client typically attends about 12 sessions, that's at most around 100 clients a year, and even fewer if you're doing deeper, longer term work, and most clients will stay on longer than 12 sessions anyway. So do you still think you need millions of followers or viral hits to fill your practice? Now let's talk about actual niche sizes. PCOS, 1 in 10 women, that's a lot. ADHD in women, around 1 in 20. And diagnoses among women aged 23 to 49 nearly doubled between 2020 and 2022. Binge eating disorder? Approximately 1 in 50 adults, and surprisingly, 40% are male. That's a niche within a niche. Anxiety? So many sub-niches. Experienced by 1 in 5 adults at some point in their life, and 1 in 15 have recurring anxiety. In fact, anxiety is too big a niche. You could break that down into OCD or social anxiety or anxiety in teens or even performance anxiety in men. And if you don't believe me, Google stats on erectile dysfunction and tell me that that's not a big niche. So the belief that your niche is too small is rarely backed by data. It is driven by psychological bias, which is called the availability heuristic. Our brains assume something is rare just because we don't see it a lot in our environment. But your client isn't rare. You're just not tuned into their frequency yet. When you actually run the numbers, even on the most specific niches, it often represents tens to hundreds of thousands of potential clients in your region alone. And working online opens up the whole world to you. Niche practitioners are far more likely to have waiting lists for their specialist services because they are constantly booked up, as I used to be. One of our practitioners, Una, specialises in endometriosis and PCOS. But when she brought in the secret sauce of emotional eating to her practice, that's when our client list literally exploded. Because women getting help for infertility talk to each other all the time in TTC groups online, and they share a lot of resources and any form of support that helps. The last time I caught up with Una, she was full, with a wait list, all word of mouth referrals, and she hadn't actually been on social media for 5 months. And I hope you caught that although her niche is infertility, she took our continuing education training because she was seeing such a huge co-occurrence of emotional and binge eating with PCOS and endometriosis. So niching does not limit your continuing education either. You just get to be far more intentional about it. Not for nothing, and it's something I rarely talk about, but I'm actually a highly qualified Reiki master teacher. And that came out of my realising how many subconscious, intergenerational and other energetic factors there are in eating disorders, as well as that somatic and body work the body remembers. And my taking ongoing Reiki training actually led me, surprisingly, to developing my therapy card deck. So there are no limits by niching. It just allows you to be far more focused and ensuring that everything ties back to your niche, building and building and building to go deeper and deeper and deeper. So let's validate your niche with some real data. First, just Google it. Type in how many adults in your country or region experience your niche problem, or what is the global market for your niche problem. Look at the numbers. They're often bigger than you imagined. And remember, you only need 100 a year. Then you give ChatGPT a prompt. Estimate the number of adults in this niche in my area and provide supporting statistics and keywords they might search for. This is going to give you concrete data and some useful insights for your marketing. Now that's just a taster of how to do this. And to help you, I've created a free cheat sheet to walk you through it with key prompts and questions to plug into Google Search and ChatGPT. And you can grab that from the description box below. But remember, you only need a tiny fraction of those people to build a thriving, meaningful practice. 15 clients at any one time, 100 clients a year. So stop chasing viral and start chasing visible. Because when you become visible to the right 100 people, your practice fills up and your confidence follows. So now it's time to flex your niche muscles, start owning your own time and energy, and saying no to a lot more clients. And this is where most practitioners fail dramatically. Not being able to turn down clients who are waving money at them, like my bipolar clients back in the day. So let me explain why it's so important to say no to certain clients. Now, many practitioners feel pressure to say yes to every client who reaches out, but please believe me when I say knowing who you're not meant to serve is just as important as knowing who you are meant to serve. Without clear boundaries, you're going to take every client who turns up, and this is the road to resentment, burnout, and reducing your own effectiveness. So let me share a personal story, and I know this is going to speak to many of you, even if you've never had this kind of, radical, honest conversation before. But during my postgraduate training, we had a heated debate one morning. I had shared openly that I'd been turned down by the Samaritans for a volunteer role after admitting that I didn't think I'd be able to remain neutral if somebody called and talked about being a child abuser or a paedophile. Now, there was a context to this. I previously volunteered with a support service for survivors of sexual abuse and volunteered with the Rape Crisis Centre, so I carried very strong feelings about this particular issue. But several classmates disagreed with my stance and really came down hard on me about not having unconditional positive regard for everybody. And honestly, I felt really judged for drawing that line. But after lunch, our course director brought the topic back up again, and she said, knowing your boundaries is not unprofessional. It's a hallmark of being an ethical practitioner. If you recognise that you're not the right person to support a client, it is in that client's best interests that you clearly say no and refer them on. And that was a powerful moment, because not only did I feel validated about my gut instinct and want to say no to a certain type of client, It also clarified for me that we do our best work when we're fully aligned with and energized by the clients we serve. The kind of energized that makes you want to dive deeper, research and read up on new aspects of your niche that clients bring into the room, and continue to sharpen your skills. I'm still doing it. Weight loss medications in the last couple of years have brought a whole new layer of learning to us and our network. This is where extraordinary, impactful work happens, like with Una and our clients struggling with infertility, to also help them overcome emotional binge eating, which is also adding to their already strong sense of shame, not feeling good enough or even deserving of having a baby. So when you strategically say no to wrong fit clients, you're not closing a door, you're opening the right one wider to the right client. You're signaling to both the market and yourself that you're an expert, not a generalist for hire. Your ideal clients will sense your passion and preparation, and they will trust you more because of it. So are you ready to find your clear no? We're going to do a simple exercise on this now. So thinking back over your last 20 client inquiries, sessions or discovery calls, which ones lit you up? Who were you drawn to? What did they share that got you curious, energized, or feeling like you were fully in your comfort zone, that you were really connecting with this person? And now, which ones drained you or triggered resistance? Like, when did you feel discomfort or just a strong gut level no? Now, I knew with one of those two clients with bipolar disorder that I shouldn't have taken one of them. She was actually going through an episode at that time, and I, as a new therapist, was not just out of my depth, which I was, but I just dreaded her coming in every Thursday. And we should never feel like that. So after being honest about what doesn't light you up, take a moment to complete this sentence. A client I am no longer available for is someone who... Finish the sentence. Now, this might not be the issue they present with. It could also be clients who complain about your fees, who pay late, who cancel last minute and ask for awkward reschedules, who expect you to be available outside of your normal working hours. You can choose to say no to anyone who's causing you friction and stops your flow in your work. This prompt helps you state out loud what you already intuitively know, and it turns it into a clear boundary that you can confidently stand behind. And as practitioners, we're all meant to be demonstrating clear boundaries and good self-care to our clients, regardless of what issue they come in the door with. Saying no is not rejection or cherry picking. It's ethical and boundaried. It's the courageous act of stepping fully into your lane, doing your best work, and serving the people who most need you and your unique blend of expertise and you-ness. Niching will never limit you. It actually liberates you. It simplifies your marketing, it deepens your skill set, it allows you to be really intentional about courses and certifications, and it allows you to build a practice that's a powerful launch pad for you to go wherever you want to go. So get clear on who you really want to help and who you don't want to help. Go back through this video and use the prompts to help you. Download and use my cheat sheet to check the true size of the niche you think you might be drawn to, or check several different niches. And start shaping your one clear offer for your ideal client. Remember, you only need 10 to start moving forward with that niche practice. If this shook up your perspective on niching, I'd love to hear from you, so please leave a comment below. What niche are you secretly drawn to but afraid to commit to? And if you're already in a niche, please share it. Make sure you subscribe, because the next video is all about the mindset needed to build a successful, sustainable practice. And there was a bit in here about mindset too. But while you wait for that, check out my last video, which breaks down the step-by-step formula to building a full or part-time practice. And remember, the most profitable niche is you.